Mhm. Yeah. So here you are, not able really to share your gifts, to share the beauty that you are. And there is this deep, deep, deep calling within your heart. And you're very, very, very much aware of that. So, what is really happening? Why can't you just step into your power and become this big, massive you that you are meant to be? The wisdom, the experiences, the practices, the tools, the skills that you are meant to share. The world needs you, really. The world truly, truly needs you. So, what is it that blocks you from sharing, from being big, from being the unique, beautiful expression of life itself, of God itself that you are? So, let me tell you what I found to be very helpful, and not just helpful, but absolutely transformative in my case. And that my invitation to you is, of course, to try it as well. And it's to know yourself. And what I mean to know yourself, not in a fundamental spirit way, non-dual awareness. And that is also very important. But to know and start watching from the awareness itself and from the presence that is here. And start watching all the mechanisms at play. Start becoming curious. How do I unenlighten myself? How do I take myself out of resting right here, right now, this very moment? How do I do this? What do I do in the process? And by becoming curious and finding tools such as the Kiloby inquiries that I use with my clients, and we train people to become facilitators, but first and foremost to see, to start looking inside, start turning inward, start asking the right questions so that you yourself can discover the deficiency stories that still operate, still lingering within your system, within your body, somatically, repressed anger, shame, guilt. Shame is a big one. I had repressed shame that was sitting unconsciously there for 30 years that I didn't even know existed. I didn't even remember the incident at all. It was out of my conscious awareness for many years, but it did. The sabotaging mechanisms of it did prevent me and did keep me in hiding for years and years. So this particular method of KI had helped me to remove the repressed, to find the repressed shame, to start incorporate and start feeling and start allowing and start connecting, even going there. It was so protected that there was no access to it. So there are tools that are super sharp to penetrate and to go deep into repressed stuff. I worked recently on repressed anger that allowed me to express myself and be myself more in the world, share this, like do this. This became so easy. This making videos as such, appearing in groups and talking, leading meditation groups, tapping and speaking from presence became so natural, so easy, so spontaneous, that No scripts are written, no preparation is needed. The not knowing is no longer a burden. It is actually a deep peace, a deep settling into thy will be done. And the stream of whatever needs to be spoken, of whatever needs to be inspired there, just flows, just naturally flows without interruption, without these suffocating energies. And I had this intense lump in my throat that was not allowing me to share. I had intense PTSD reaction that I couldn't even speak. I couldn't even move when it would arise. I couldn't do anything. I was in complete freeze mode. So I know how it feels. And I know sometimes how you feel. And it might be not as acute as I had, or it might be very, very subtle, or it might be the energies, the sabotaging energies of these traumas that we live with, these stored memories within us from childhood, perhaps even undetected. Perhaps you don't even know what is sabotaging your presence, your expression in the world, your sharing, your being big and powerful and impactful and honest and vulnerable and humble and integral and authentic. So that, and those energies, those sabotaging energies I speak about, I'm so familiar with them. Even though, let me see, when was it? How about when I was pregnant with Noah? So Noah is 9. So 9 years ago, I detected this repressed shame I had. And at that time, because it originated when I was 6, at that time it was within me, within my system for a good 30 years, maybe less, 25, undetected. So when I saw it, it was such a big surprise that took me such a long time without having the skills that I have right now of KI, and how shortened my healing and integration and letting go journey could have been compared to what the skills I have right now. That in all these years dealing with that shame, not knowing how to deal with that, I went through so many dead ends, like so many blockages, so many mistakes, so to say, but none of the mistakes are actually mistakes. It's just learning curves, right? So, but it took time. It took time to learn from all these mistakes and how and what I was doing wrong and what I was doing right and what was working. But nevertheless, then by kicking this energy out and myself out into the world and start sharing was also a rough ride. And it was probably a mistake as well, in a sense of how skillfully I could have done that right now. Because looking back, I just forced myself to come up in a groups of people and start speaking, and that was devastating. I think that created an extra trauma on top of already unresolved shame. So with that, and I'm grateful for all the yogic techniques of concentration and breathing that had helped me in that moment to really calm down and calm down the nervous system and really regulate my breath and really ride the wave of the intensity, and at the same time not be sabotaged by it, by no longer appearing, by no longer showing up, by no longer sharing my story, by no longer speaking up and inspiring others to do the same. So by calming that down, I still noticed that I lived for a good, let's see, probably another 2 years with already showing up, but it was a dread showing up. It was like going to a job you hated and you wished that the doors were closed because of the snowstorm or something like that, some natural disaster. Or if it was online, I wish people wouldn't show up, or the internet connection would fail, or something like that. You know, the resistance were so persistently there. It hated it. It hated showing up. But now it's just beautiful. The skills that the Kilby inquiries and the way it develops right now with the repression inquiry and the way this works, it's amazing. It's sharp, it's effective. And I'm not saying it's not going to take some time and some work and some intense released energies in your body to deal with, but it's so worth it. It's so worth it. Right now, with the skills that I have, and just by doing the anger repression skillfully and coming back to it again, it felt like, oh my gosh, I don't need to come back to it again. It feels like it already came home from one session. And I'm not saying for everyone it's going to be the same, but I'm just saying with the right attitude, where you're looking from and how you approach this particular method of self-inquiry, and how committed and persistent you are and how trusting you are in the process, really does the trick. It really excavates the most hidden parts of ourselves. And it really, really brings all these wounded energies into love, back home, into the existence, the source itself, back into the heart, back into oneself, back into being. So by doing this one session, I could have noticed, and also revisiting shame. I did revisit shame from this more skillful way of looking. And let me tell you, the embodying of that shame, really being the shame itself, I think had liberated that resistance that was still lingering, that PTSD, that fear of being seen, of being witnessed, being focused on, because that was the most fearsome, most scary thing ever for me, is to have people's attention, or even my own attention as through the camera, and just realizing that people are gonna see this projection was unbearable. So I'm just gonna leave you with that. If you're still hiding, but you have all these things you wanna share, yeah, become curious. Explore, find out what KI is, what the Kilby inquiries are. Watch a few of my videos on YouTube. There's some self-facilitations that I do with KI. There's the anger repression video. There's just a simple KI, Kilby inquiries facilitation, self-facilitation. See the process, see what happens. And, you know, find ways to somatically, in your physical body, in your energetic body, find ways of meeting those energies that's screaming for your attention, the awareness, the non-dual presence that you are, screaming for that conscious kiss from presence. So I'll leave you with that. Stay curious, meditate, inquire, live from your heart. Unveil the heart so you can live from the heart courageously. And even courage. Courage is needed now with KI, with diving in, being a deep diver, meeting those energy. That's where the courage needs to be. But moving into the world, when things gets unveiled and cleared, moving into the world with your gifts, You won't even need the courage there. It's just going to be just a natural flow. It's just going to be so enjoyable and so natural and so spontaneous that you're going to be very surprised. Very surprised. So if you want to hear more, please subscribe to my channel, hit the like button, and I'm looking forward to read some comments from you or questions. I would love to answer your questions, actually. If you post any questions on the bottom, if anything you want to hear about more on the tools, the techniques, the way how more about the story of how KI had liberated so many deficiency stories here and things that I was still hanging out in separation right there, although been living for many years from a non-dual abiding state. So waking up spiritually, like enlightenment, it doesn't end there. It's just the beginning. And the embodiment journey, that's where you become fully human. That's where you become fully divine and fully human. Beautiful. I'll leave you with that. Much love. Beautiful creature. I love you.